I had achieved a good percentile of 99.35. However, just as in 2019, it was again no good for receiving calls from the best institutes of India. Hence, I had two choices. I could either go to SPJIMR's newly launched business management program or take a final plunge at CAT in 2022 and be content with wherever I go. The earlier 3 years of my CAT preparation, I found myself to be analyzing mocks on a very superficial level, only looking at questions that I could not answer as per my expectation, or as I could not answer even though I knew that topic or I wanted to learn that topic. And it was very selective in terms, or in those terms, and it was certainly not the good way of doing things. If you are able to master around the 30 to 40 different types of DILR questions that come in CAT, you will find that these questions are again repeating themselves when you take up the mocks. Hi guys, welcome back to InsideIIM. My name is Yash and today I'm going to take you through my CAT journey and how I finally ended up at a good business school in India. I was born and brought up in Jamshedpur. Now this is also the place from where I did my schooling. Now it was good to have a 998 profile which set me up decently well for my CAT examinations and for the forthcoming interviews. Now coming to CAT, I've had a tumultuous experience with CAT to say the least. I've had 4 attempts at CAT, out of which 3 were good attempts and 1 was a terrible attempt. My first attempt at CAT was way back in 2019. It was also the last year when CAT had a 3-hour examination format. I had achieved a score of 99.2 percentile. However, this score was majorly dragged upwards by my quant score. I had scored decently well in DILR as well. However, my verbal ability score was pretty average. This combined with my profile meant that I had received no calls from the top institutes of India. Hence, I had to reappear for CAT in 2020. 2020 was the first year when CAT had introduced a 2-hour format because of COVID. Now, even though I had prepared long and hard, I had put myself under tremendous pressure to outperform myself from the previous attempt. I had targeted a very high score of 99.9x, because of which I was under tremendous pressure during the examination day. Needless to say, it was a complete disaster. I could not solve even one set of DILR. I attempted only 2 out of the 24 or 25 questions that we had in that section and had gotten both of them wrong. Hence, I had achieved a negative score in DILR and an overall percentile of just 89 to 90 percentile. In 2021, I had kept myself cool and I had not kept a very high expectation, as I had seen what had happened to me in 2020 when I set higher goals and expectations from myself. I had achieved a good percentile of 99.35. However, just as in 2019, it was again no good for receiving calls from the best institutes of India. Hence, I had two choices. I could either go to SPJIMR's newly launched business management program or take a final plunge at CAT in 2022 and be content with wherever I go. So I decided to take that plunge, and luckily in 2022 I had achieved a good score of 99.79 percentile. I had achieved a great score of the same 99.79 percentile in my DILR section and a 99.6 percentile in my quant section. This resulted in me receiving calls from some of the best management institutes in India, such as IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow, Kozhikode and a few others. Now that combined with my profile and my added years of work experience meant that I had a good shot of conversion at these colleges. Now there are 2 other things that I would like to tell you, and these are 2 mistakes that I committed during my first 3 years of CAT preparation, and I would suggest that you would not make the same moving forward. The first, and this is a very important thing, is to analyze mocks. Now I cannot stress enough the importance of analyzing mocks, and I know that subconsciously all of us know that analyzing mocks is very important. However, what I find in myself and what I found in others around me as well was a sort of laziness or a complacency in terms of the effort that we put into analyzing the mocks that we have taken, irrespective of the score that you get in that particular mock, how well you have performed in that mock or how poorly you have performed in the mock. I think that analyzing mocks like question to question is very important, or just as important as taking the mock itself. The earlier 3 years of my CAT preparation, I found myself to be analyzing mocks on a very superficial level, only looking at questions that I could not answer as per my expectation, or as I could not answer even though I knew that topic or I wanted to learn that topic. And it was very selective in terms, or in those terms, and it was certainly not the good way of doing things. And this was something that I had made sure, or had made certain, that this year I would certainly improve upon that. Maybe that was the place that I was lacking in my first 3 attempts. So I had made it a habit that after answering the mock itself, I would give myself perhaps a couple of days of rest, and then analyze the mock completely, each section, and note down the bits that I was not comfortable in or I had not performed very well in. The second thing, and this is again something that I did not pay attention during my first 3 years of exam prep, was to analyze the criteria of selection for each institute. While again, this is something that you might or might not want to do, but based on your expectations, based on the colleges that you are targeting, make sure that you know what the college is looking for, the college that you are targeting is actually looking for. Now, coming to the topic-wise preparation strategy, and starting with the verbal ability and reading comprehension section. Now, this is one section that I think has evaded me throughout my 4 years of preparation. Despite reading tons and tons of material, and despite having tried to improve and having analyzed the mistakes that I have been making throughout the years, I have still never achieved a percentile greater than 97 percentile in the final CAT examination. When I first started off with the verbal ability section in 2019, one problem that I faced, and that a lot of people face, and something that you might face as well, is that you might find all of the answers in the reading comprehension section specifically to be correct. Now, of course, as in how you prepare and as in how you take up more mocks, you will realize as to how to answer these questions and which options to pick and which options not to pick. Now, the strategy for verbal ability and reading comprehension is twofold. Firstly, it is more of a game of elimination than a game of actually selecting the right answers. Once you find yourself taking this route as opposed to taking the route of trying to find the exact answer, you will find that things are a lot more easier and you will be able to eliminate options much more effectively. The second is again to take up more and more mocks, and to take up more and more sectional mocks specifically for the verbal ability section. Now, assuming that CAT might continue with the 2-hour format, the goal that I set for myself was to complete at least 3 out of the 4 passages in 30 minutes, and then to give the leftover 10 to 12 minutes of time to the verbal ability section. Now, a bit better way, especially if you have a better reading speed than me, is to try to give 7 to 8 minutes for each passage. By that way, you might you might give around 30 to 32 minutes of the time to the reading comprehension section, and to give around 8 to 10 minutes for the verbal ability itself. Secondly, coming to the DILR section. Now, DILR section is a game of not getting eliminated as opposed to scoring very high, because it is very difficult to score very high in this section. Now, DILR, again, as opposed to what the general perception, is not extremely impossible as people might make it out to be, because there are only a certain level of variation that the CAT brings in the DILR section. Now, again, as I mentioned previously, coming to the 8th grade DILR video, and there are several other videos by different YouTube channels as well. If you are able to master around the 30 to 40 different types of DILR questions that come in CAT, you will find that these questions are again repeating themselves when you take up the mocks, and the only thing that is changing between these questions are small things that perhaps do not matter in the larger frame of solving or cracking the set itself. That might be data, or that might be a particular logic, but that is not very relevant to solving the type of puzzle. The selection criteria usually for DILR sets, like if it is a 2-hour format, is that if you answer one set completely correctly, like if you answer 5 questions correctly, you should get around 90 percentile plus in the DILR section, which is a good percentile for not getting eliminated from any of the colleges. While again it sounds a bit, or I might make it sound a bit more easier than it actually is, the trick lies here in set selection. Now again, as in how you prepare for CAT, you will realize that there are certain DILR sets that you are much more comfortable as compared to other DILR sets. So for example, you might be comfortable in a set theory or in a Venn diagram set as opposed to in a puzzle problem. So in that case, when you actually get the examination, you make sure that you are selecting the sets that you need to solve in that order. So let's say if there are four sets in the examination, you make it in your mind that you need to answer this set first, this set second, this set third, and this set fourth, so that when you actually start solving, you are not confused and you are not running forth between two different sets. And this is being organized basically something that you especially need to do in the DILR, because time runs out faster than you might imagine. Now shifting our focus to the third and final section, that is the QA section. Now this is something that the engineers are pretty much very comfortable with, and you should target at least a 99 percentile if you are an engineer. That translates to a score of about 36 to 40 based on the level of difficulty that year the CAT has set. And even for non-engineers, I would expect that you would keep your target of at least 95 to 96 percentile. Now coming to the resources and preparation material for the CAT examination, there are several resources that can prepare you very well for the CAT examination. The first and foremost is to take up coaching at a good institution, as mentioned earlier. Now some of you might not be able to take up coaching, or you might be unwilling to take up coaching, in which case you should opt for the second method, and that is to prepare by yourself. Now if you are an avid and enthusiastic reader, and if you are patient, I feel that this is the best method in order to prepare for the CAT examination. You might want to take a look at Arun Sharma's books. There are around 4 to 5 books of different topics, and if you are an enthusiastic reader and if you can read from cover to cover, the Arun Sharma's books will cover you completely in terms of their content. They are very exhaustive and very competitive, and I feel that this is the absolute best way to prepare for CAT. However, for most of us, we are either a bit impatient, or we are either short in terms of the time that we can put in terms of covering these books, in which case we need to rely on the third method, that is to take up lots and lots of mocks and to rely on a lot of different types of YouTube channels and YouTube videos to help us or to aid us with our CAT journey. Now coming to the overall examination strategy, the trick to cracking CAT is simple. You need to absolutely smash one of the 3 sections, you need to perform extremely well in one of the remaining 2 sections, and you need to perform decently well in the third section. Now of course this is much more difficult than I make it sound, and in order to get here you need to perform very well in your mocks, and you need to practice a lot of mocks. Now coming to the mocks, you need to take anywhere between at least between 10 to 15 mocks if you're targeting the top institutes in India. And these mocks you need to start to take right from your preparation itself, and not closer to the CAT examination, as counterintuitive as it might sound. So of course the frequency of mocks needs to increase as in how you approach the CAT, but you need to start taking the mocks from the first day itself. The reason for this is that once you start taking mocks from the first day itself, you get an idea as to where you stand and as to the level of effort that you need to put in order to get to your desired scores or to your desired percentile. Coming to the sectional mocks and topic wise tests, the frequency of this needs to be very high during the initial phase of preparation, and it needs to reduce, while the opposite is true for your overall the 2-hour examination or the 3-hour examination, as the case might be. Now the CAT preparation journey is not a linearly increasing journey in terms of the level of preparedness or in terms of confidence that we have in ourselves in our ability to crack the CAT examination. Now of course at times you might feel dejected, you might feel that you're not made for this, or you might feel that you're not getting some of the very important concepts, or perhaps even after a lot of preparation you might not be performing very well in mocks. Now of course these are things that cannot be avoided, and in fact these are things that you will face in your CAT preparation journey, and you need to overcome this. And I know that you are capable of that, but it is more importantly you who needs to know that you can do this. You need to dream big, you need to believe in yourself, and you need to make it happen. Now before I leave, if there are any other doubts that any of you have, please feel free to reach out to me in my LinkedIn, the link for which should be somewhere down in the description below, and do ask your questions in the comment section. Now that's it for this video. I hope you have a good examination and a good preparation journey. See you again. Bye bye now.